At the direction of our comptroller, Mr. Jim, he asked us to take a look at what else was out there because he had had experience in Rensselaer County with moving to Humana, getting rid of multiple plans and moving to one carrier. And they saved a lot of money. And our initial quotes that are coming back show substantial savings in the hundreds of thousands of dollars.
For similar plans.
For similar plans to our major plan, the MVP PPO nationwide plan. So using the same benefits, the plans are coming in a third less, and the potential savings is several $100,000. Why didn't we do this before? Partially it's because neither Aetna or Humana had firmly established themselves in the area until recently, the last couple of years. Lori is also looking at the co-op plan in Broome County, which uses United Healthcare. Personally, I think that's a little more tenuous because of the carrier, but also because the relationship with Broome County. However, they do have a proposal on the table, apparently, where they can get some sort of grant, which would reduce our costs even further. So we're taking a look at primarily those three options: Aetna, Humana, United Healthcare through Broome County. And so what we would like is permission, if that's the right word, or the okay to get rid of our multitude of plans, which now I think number 7 or 8, and go down to one plan. This is what most counties are doing in order to save a lot of money, make administration much, much easier, and probably reduce the questions for the retirees. And I think their chance of getting to know their plans better would work overall. So I don't think there's a long-term commitment, but generally we could probably get 2-year rate guarantees. So we're looking at least 2 to 3 years probably. So that's what I propose, is that we are open up to the idea of going to one carrier instead of multiple carriers.
Are you making a motion?
Wait. I would agree with that. I would like to see, some of the numbers and comparisons.
Okay, we should have that done in the next 2 weeks. We probably need a decision by the middle of September because they need a good 90 days to get the plans in place without disruption. So is that acceptable to get numbers to you within 2 weeks?
Yes.
And a decision 2 weeks after that? Okay. Correct. Yes, we've used the most popular plan, which is the MVP PPO. It has probably 80% of the enrollment, maybe 75% of the enrollment, and we've mimicked that benefit outline. Plus, we've added some benefits such as hearing aids and a touch of dental and a little bit extra to make them attractive. Well, I'll put all the pros and cons in a sheet for you, Art, so that you can see what sort of impact it would have on the members, so you know whether you're going to get somebody barking at your door.
Right, because these are just the Medicare Advantage plans, so it's purely the retirees over the age of 65 and up.
We only pay for old people.
Steve, my question is, it's the number of doctors in the area are shrinking. Would this have any impact on doctors in or out of network? Okay. Thank you. We're really sensitive to that, just having done that search at our town level a couple of months ago. And it was a real eye opener.
So I guess I don't think we need a motion other than just to ask Steve and HR to give us a comparison and come back to us by the middle of September, and we can set a date. Thank you.
Thank you for thinking about this. This is a great idea. Are you blushing, Jim?
I'll take any good news I can get at this point.
They said save money and Jim in the same conversation, so I think
We meant
PJ's smiling already.
not JIM.
PJ liked it.
Okay, so our representatives from ProAct are here to do the quarterly presentation, so I will turn it over to them if that's okay with you, sir, and we'll let them introduce themselves.
Yes.
Thank you. All right, take it away. Are you familiar with the Google Meet share
I'm
part?
trying to figure out what.
That's okay, it's that cute. Oh, there, oh, you got it. You. All right, yep, you can do where's the full screen?
Well, are they seeing it? That's okay?
Yeah. Is everyone seeing what Katie's presenting? Perfect. A lot of nodding heads. Awesome. Okay.
Well, my
Thank you,
name's
Miss.
Katie Robinson. I'm the account manager for the county. And I have Dave Mastrangelo with me as well. He's the director of account management. So just taking some time, we actually did a biannual review. I think we decided on. So the first 6 months of 2022, kind of gonna go over some different figures that we've seen so far in different ways that we can recommend to improve the Steve's health course over here.
And I think I've been on a call with many of you in the past. We've gone through similar data. Again, in my role as director of account management, it's simply overstated to provide folks like Katie with all the tools and resources to deliver on that ProAct promise. You'll hear from me from time to time, but really this is kind of Katie's presentation and kind of the color commentary from the press box.
Yeah. Well, thank you for having us. I do appreciate it. So what we'll first start with is the plan summary. I know everyone in the room has a copy. I'll leave a couple extra copies here with the county just in case someone does want a paper copy as well. And I'll send this out after we discuss today. So first, looking at the membership side of things for the year. Like I said, January 1st till June 30th of 2021 versus 2022. We'll start looking at utilizing members about the same. So 971 utilizing members, and then this year we had 939. One thing that will probably catch everyone's eye off the bat is the member paid. So once we actually take into consideration the member paid with the copay assistance that we have in place right now at the bottom, it evens out a lot better than what we looked at. So on the paper it shows 29% in the member paid, but once you take into that copay assistance, for the 2020 plan year, 2021, I'm sorry, had 26,000 as 60 claims for copay assistance. Not too much of a claim increase, but the assistance increased greatly for the 2022 year, sorry. We have 81 claims this year so far and $74,000 in copay assistance. So as we really take that into consideration, member paid stayed the same from last year to this year, with a difference of $5,000. So moving from 115,000 down to 110 for the member paid. Moving down, claims for the RX count stayed about the same. One thing I will notice is that the retail maintenance that we can take into consideration there's the COVID vaccines. So if people are going to pharmacy getting their COVID vaccines, I don't know, Lori, did the county offer anything for COVID vaccines?
We did.
You did?
Yes, we had clinics.
Okay, and I think we had looked at the numbers just recently in the last day or two of how many claims there actually were. Specialty we'll touch a little bit base on a little bit later in the presentation. So it shows that they had 61 claims moving up to 92 this year with a 50% increase. You'll see that we had a couple new cancer patients added on as well as specialty medications, unfortunately. Any questions with the first page at all? No questions? Most importantly, we'll move into the plan cost. So the plan cost In the 2021 year, it was $1.2 million. This year so far, it's $1.5 million, with a total plan paid increase of about 20%. Moving down into dispensing fee, a lot of the dispensing fee has subsided, so down 94%. Specialty spend up 74%. Like I said, we'll talk about that a little bit later in the presentation. We'd like to see mail order increasing. That's always a good thing to see. So moving up 8.47%, and that will coincide with the prescriptions as well.
Why are dispensing fees down? Do we have any idea or just?
Yeah, it could be a couple things there. One, through our mail order, there is no dispensing fee,
Right.
so more mail utilization, the greater that's gonna be.
Okay.
And then also us switching to a new adjudication platform recently. We redid our network contracting, so pharmacy reimbursements was done on that, so dispensing fees also a positive pushback to clients.
Great.
So plan fee generic, came in at 251,000 last year, 206,000 this year. So the generic fill rate is down a little bit, moving up on the brand rate at 33%.
We're having a presentation. We're having a presentation. What do you have for budget meeting? That's not, is there a budget meeting scheduled for today?
Budget meeting is
No,
done.
Jim, the controller's actually in this meeting.
Okay,
Yeah,
I got one, supposed to be today, 3:15.
sorry. Yeah, I don't know, he's on the meeting right now, sorry. Alright, thank you.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. Go ahead, I apologize for that.
No, you're good. So average plan paid per drug type specialty is actually gonna be the highest. We see that across the board. Brand was up at 17%, as well as specialty at 15.6%. Generic did go down an average of 12%. Now I'll actually look at more of the drug type. We're looking here that the county had almost a 25% mail order, which is great. Mandatory mail, we'll usually see about 30 to 40, so we'll have to talk about a little bit more ways to drive that a little bit harder. Retail performance was 33%, and specialty is 42%. A lot of people will question the specialty spend. Specialty spend on average is 40 to 50% of the specialty spend throughout all of the plans that we have. So nothing that to be a concern about there. The generic summary, we had a generic fill rate of 88.84%. Previously, we had 88.92, so not much of a move there.
To be honest, when I get the opportunity to ride shotgun a lot of these presentations across all of our clients, 88.8 is outstanding. That's a great generic dispensing rate. The very nominal drop is probably due to COVID vaccines that aren't available as generics. But overall, that's a good positive metric, working in your favor.
We'll start talking about the drug classes here. First, we have diabetes as our number one drug class. So in the 2021 year, we had 240,000. This year, we have 263,000 in the first half of the year. Inflammatory conditions for skin conditions typically are number 2, and cancer is number 3. Any questions on those? So non-specialty, again, coming in at number 1 is diabetes, 263,000. HIV is going to be number 2, slightly increased from last year when we had 36,000 in claims. Now we're up to 60,000. Moving down the line, not too much. We have the high blood cholesterol. Sorry, I'm stuttering today over here. Mental diseases, asthma, high blood pressure, and migraines going down the list here. Top 10 brand drugs, non-specialty. We'll take a look at it here that most of these are actually diabetic. Diabetic being the number 1 spend for the county. We have also HIV, 2 HIV medications on there, and neuro disorders as well. One big change that we had from last year to this year is the Invega, so an injection on mental disorders as well. That increased to about 17,000. We didn't have any claims last year on that one.
In the non-specialty space, across the entire industry, when you look at various drug trend reports that are put out by some of the larger houses, CVS, Caremark, Optums, everybody's running high on diabetes right now. The treatments and the way that they've come to market really have advanced the science around diabetics. It's not your grandma's insulin anymore. No one's really getting treated by a GP for diabetes anymore. You're going to a specialist, you're going to a clinic that, ultimately is looking at all kinds of different ways that these pharmacotherapies are interacting with your biology and your tolerance to various things. There probably isn't very many drugs on there that if you have cable television, you probably haven't heard of all of these drugs. Just as a little tidbit, Big Pharma outspent both Ford and GM last year by twofold. So the advertisements are working. They're spending their money and getting the return. They're going into their doctors asking for these drugs by name. And whereas these might have been a tertiary or fourth level mechanism for most doctors, they're getting a lot more comfortable prescribing the treatments in Jardiance and Januvia, maybe a secondary treatment after metformin as they step into these. So not surprising to see the spend escalate the county here in this particular drug therapy category, and seeing it across our book of business. So it's not the greatest thing to hear, but maybe misery loves company, and I know that you're not alone.
And with that being said, I had worked with Lori in the past with the diabetic program, basic flyer that we have. Great to put in the offices or maybe send out with new employee packets. So we actually do offer diabetes program here at ProAction voluntary. We don't have to do it. It's also free. So they'll get a free meter every single year, as well as monthly mailings of the new updates that are coming out, along with counseling from our pharmacist as well. So voluntary, good thing to kind of look at. Hopefully it will help the driver bringing down the cost and some of that spend as well.
I always like to level set on the diabetes program. It's probably counterintuitive. It sounds like I'm bashing our own program, but I think it's very pertinent to set realistic expectations. I'm not sure anybody's diabetes by having a program that's ultimately set up to help them with counseling, good nutrition, dietary plans. There's even opportunities, for free meters and things like that. But it is a great program, and the more enrollment we can get in it, the better. It's going to ultimately help you with better health within your membership base. Want to be very pragmatic in the approach of what our diabetes program can and can't do realistically.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the hardest push there is that it's always voluntary. You can't force someone to sign up for it. And I know that one of the new additives to the plan this year is the continuous blood testing monitors.
Yeah.
I haven't heard too much about that. Have you, Lori?
Heard what?
Like members using it, problems?
I've talked to 3 or 4.
And they got it, no problem.
No problem, yeah.
All right,
We'll
awesome.
talk about that on the pod 5.
So we actually did the
Freestyles and the Dexcoms.
and the Dexcoms. So next on the list, like Dave said, we'll have it on it.
Right.
So it's the Omnipod's the newest
Yep.
coming. So we did it by GPI so that we're only allowing those two.
Right.
At this time. As we talked about, biggest spend, so over $100 billion spend every single year. One thing I really want to point out is the fourth column here, the estimated generic availability. Super important to go over this in the diabetic space here. Most of them not coming off patent until about 2027, 2028, with large spends in that last category. So 185 million on Emflaza, and then followed by 4.2 billion in Victoza. We'll actually notice, I think, all of the top 5 that you guys had as a county are on this list. So one important thing to realize is, unfortunately, it's not going anywhere super fast. But hang in there, 2027 hopefully will bring some light to that end of the tunnel. Now we'll move into the specialty stuff here. So specialty drugs, top one being cancer. Unfortunately, we have the one member that is utilizing the Revlimid, starting at 20,000 last year for the first quarter, and then in the first half of the year this year, 7 prescriptions so far, and unfortunately that's brought an additional $140,000 to the plan. I do want to point out down at the bottom we have 3 brand new skin condition medications: the Dexapan, the Taltz, and the Solera. So on average, that's bringing about another $82,000. Again, all specialty spend, but we do have the copay assistance in place, which we'll talk about, I believe, on the next slide, that will actually help bring down the cost of this. And Dave's great at talking about this as well. where we're actually talking about specialty spend. So they have that copay assistance to the drug manufacturers. Free to the members, obviously, sometimes we'll have them fill out a little bit of information and kind of help us along the way with that. But really purely what it does is it will move the cost from the client side being Columbia County, moving it over to the member and applying those coupons and really giving us the space. So of the top 5 specialty spends, every single one of these were on the counties for last year. So if you look at it, we have Humira, Stelara, Taltz, Otezla, and Dexatent as well. So unfortunately, 41.5% of a specialty spend compared to the total spend is what we're running at here at PROACT, and that's about what you can have as a county. So little comfort in finding out that you're not alone on that one.
So just a point or a note on this particular slide. This is taken from our annual drug trend report we publish obviously annually. Let's see there, but this isn't data that's specific to the county. This is our book of business aggregated. It's something we publish. We put this out on LinkedIn. It's also on our website. There's also a ton of different information that we make available through both of those means, both social media and through our website, that is available to you. So if there's something that you're looking for additional information about, certainly those are 2 good mechanisms that maybe just follow us on LinkedIn, or if you want to check out the website. Certainly Katie being your single point of contact, pick up the phone, give her a jingle, shoot her an email. She's available to help assist, help you find whether it's data or information, or just generally be in support of any questions you might have at any time.
And I think Lori does a really good job of that. I think it's not uncommon for me to hear from Lori once or twice a week. Done a great job of helping the county as well, so I want to give her applause for that. I think we made great improvement in the last 6 months from where we have been.
Definitely.
Lori actually has access to our platform, so she can see all the rejected claims before she even has to pick up the phone, which is key, giving her a lot of capability.
Very helpful.
May add a little bit more to her daily work, so we appreciate that.
Yeah, no, it hasn't been bad.
It's a little bit easier when you can answer your own questions before you have to call. So we're gonna move over to the clinical side of things here for the most part. So talking about the number 1 diabetes spend, I think we've spent a lot of time on that so far. Looking at all the medications on the board as a product type, every single one of those is brand name medications. So unfortunately, like we had seen before, we're not really going to see a patent come off those until 23 to 28 on average right now. Keeping in mind, most of your diabetes users are in the age of 55 to 64. So a little bit lower on the younger age, and then actually growing and later in life. Inflammatory conditions came in at number 2 for the county, so 88 total prescriptions. Humira, top leader on that one, with 23 prescriptions as a total paid for the plan at $111,000. So a lot of money being spent there between the 5 users itself. Enbrel came in at number 2 with a total prescription count of 12, 3 utilizing members at $71,000. And last but not least, we have the number 3 spend. So cancer, unfortunately, was the number 3 spend for the plan. So the 2 members that I can probably see are either between the age of 35 and 44 and 55 and 64. With that being said, the top 2 spends, the Revlimid and Ciprocel, I believe we'll say that, each having the 1 utilizing member, and we can always dig deeper to see if that is the same utilizing member. But that's where all this fund is going. So we're looking at about $100,000 or $200,000 plus on that. This is Lori's favorite topic, I think. We talk about this often. I know that the county does a really good job of kind of dialing down on their COVID between, the prescriptions that we have, the test kits. So one thing I wanted to mention is keep in mind that as of January 10th of this year so far, the county was required to provide up to 8 tests per month for each individual if they needed it there. So they could go to the pharmacy, they could run that prescription, or they could buy it and then also turn in a reimbursement form. So within the last 7 months of that happening, you guys only had 45 claims. So that's a good number, with a spend of $3,184. So not too bad. But it is there, and keep that in mind as well. So a couple of recommendations that I have for you. Number 1 being the split bill program. So the split bill program is specific to cancer medications and chemotherapies. We saw that was our top 3 spend. We only have 1 to 2 members at this time, but really what it is it's a cost avoidance program more than anything. So for the first 3 months of the member being able to get their medications, they're only allowed 15 days at a time. So with that being said, how often do you go, you figure out your treatment doesn't work, you may need a new strength. So with that being said, they will only be able to allow 15 days supplies at a time for the first 3 months, truly as a cost avoidance program more than anything. The members that are already on the plan utilizing those medications, we are grandfathered in. So it's kind of a moving forward platform.
Yeah, this really does speak to immunotherapy and specifically targeted in the oncology space, where you're talking about some chemo drugs that are extremely costly, and oftentimes the patient is rejecting those treatments within the first 5 to 10 days, and now they're sitting on a 30-day supply, and the cost of the plan just an exorbitant amount of money that now goes to waste. This is certainly a way to help mitigate that until the member or the patient rather has a treatment that is amenable to what they have going on.
Alright, great. So the next page we're actually going to talk about, I had worked with Steve earlier on the week, so copay assistance. So copay assistance right now for the specialty medications is at 20% for the county. We took a look into it to see how much we would save if we moved into the 30% realm here. So a couple of my notes that I took. If we moved into the 30% realm, the plan would actually save $51,000, and the members would save almost $31,000. So total $82,000 in savings. And again, this is free to you guys. It's not anything that we're specifically pushing on you, but it's the manufacturers that are giving that copay assistance. So moving from 20 to 30% is one of my biggest recommendations. I always like to say 30 is the new 20 on this. So a lot of money out there with the drug manufacturers, and definitely something to take a look at moving forward.
So, yeah, just maybe piggyback on this, because you might be asking yourself, Steve mentioned earlier when he was talking about the Med Advantage stuff, like, why now? Or really, this is really designed the program with 20% in mind when we brought it to market. We were one of the first who brought this copay assistance or variable copay assistance, rather, because we have the vertical integration with Noble, our own specialty pharmacy. We were able to monitor the feeds on the accumulators back and forth and work collaboratively with them. And what we found at the time was when we scaled up to 30%, often the manufacturer assistance would expire into the latter half of the year. Come September, October, November, the assistance would run out and do more traditional burden on the plan number. That's just not the case anymore, because we've seen just a greater influx to the market of these manufacturer assistance dollars. We feel very confident in bringing a 30% where there's not going to be any months of disruption. Matter of fact, we have clients that are looking at 40 and 45%, which is very aggressive. They'd rather front load it and basically say, if we get to November, if they're okay with that risk and having that coverage gap, so to speak. So at 30%, we are in a good, safe spot. This can be seamless to the members. There is no change really that they will experience on their end whatsoever. So I want to invite some questions if there were.
I was going to say, excuse me, Supervisor Adams has a question, please.
Sure.
Yep.
Thank you.
Just in case what would you say? Maybe the therapy has to change, tolerance more than anything. So often,
Yeah, and I'm not a clinician. I'm sorry. We certainly could bring folks that could speak more, bring up a little bit more of a robust perspective, clinically speaking. But I think it has really to do with the fact that within those first 90 days of treatment in the oncology space, there's just so much volatility on what can happen, and oftentimes treatments are changing, dosages are changing. So they really want to get to a place where they're comfortable, and it becomes really more of a maintenance than anything at that point. Yeah, a lot of
From Noble.
Well, actually, a lot of these are probably white brand to the provider because they're infusion therapies in the oncology space. So either they're happening there in the doctor's office and we're signing the scripts in 9 times out of 10. So that is part of it for sure. Yep.
So moving back to copay assistance, did we have any questions on the copay assistance program? With the increase? Steve, any input on that?
I know you're at 30% already. I'm almost certain that we have them, but if we didn't, then I wonder what happened, because I thought we made that decision.
I figured we would talk about that.
Okay.
Done.
Great. And then my last slide was just any questions at all? On the plan review itself.
I don't see any hands up from any members. Any members have any questions directly for either David or Katie?
And you are seeing these guys again on Friday, right?
Yep.
Okay.
The whole team will be here on Friday, so David Stryver will be in part as well.
Yeah, we're
For the
excited
for the
that
RFP
opportunity.
committee.
David Scribes is our company president. We're also going to have Deborah Dempsey, who's our vice president of pharmacy, as well as Michael Howard, who's our vice president of operations. So happy to bring the team together and reset really, for who we are and what we do in the marketplace. Because I'm sure David will talk a little bit to this, and I don't want to get out of myself at all, but we're certainly not the same company that we originally were when we started doing business. There's been quite an evolution to what we bring to the market. So happy to showcase some of those new innovations.
And Brenda, the clinical pharmacist will be in on Friday in our presentation as well. So if we wanted to talk a little bit more about that split fill program.
Actually, not every member on this committee is part of the
Oh,
RFP
okay.
committee, so, but thank you.
Okay.
All right, you guys, is your presentation all set? So if there's no questions, sir, back to you, Chairman. I think we're good. Yeah, I think we're set.
We'll, motion to adjourn? I'll second it. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you all.